Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Ivan Jue. I teach international business at Cerritos College. Today, we'll be diving into one of the most important international business cases of the last decade: Huawei and the global debate over trade, technology, competition, and national security. This case is not simply about a telecommunications company. It raises broader questions about globalization, government intervention, free markets, and geopolitical competition between major world powers. So, Huawei's rise illustrates how a company can become a global leader through innovation, scale, and competitive pricing. At the same time, Huawei has become the center of a global political controversy. Governments must decide whether economic benefits outweigh potential national security risks. This case forces us to examine a difficult question. Should countries prioritize free market competition, or should they prioritize national security when dealing with critical technologies? So Huawei was founded in China in 1987 by Ren Zhangfei. Over several decades, it grew into one of the world's largest telecommunications equipment providers and became a leader in 5G infrastructure. Huawei's products support telecommunications networks around the world. Because telecommunications networks are critical infrastructure, governments view suppliers differently than they would ordinary consumer product companies. This is why Huawei's global expansion attracted so much attention. So, a key point here is that telecommunications networks are not just commercial assets, they are strategic national assets. There are several reasons Huawei became successful: massive investment in research and development, strong intellectual property and patent portfolio, competitive pricing, expansion into emerging markets, strong customer service and technical support. Many competitors focus primarily on developed markets, while Huawei aggressively entered developing countries where infrastructure investment was growing rapidly. So, as an example, if a telecom carrier could purchase equipment with similar performance at a lower price, Huawei often became an attractive option. So here's a brief SWOT analysis on Huawei. Strengths: technology leadership, global scale, and cost competitiveness. These are the weaknesses: political scrutiny and transparency concerns. Opportunities: the growth of 5G and digital transformation. The threats: government sanctions, trade restrictions, and geopolitical conflict. The SWOT analysis shows that Huawei's biggest challenges are not technological, they are political and regulatory. So the point here is that many multinational firms fail not because of weak products, but because of political risk. Huawei's success can be explained through classic international business concepts, and these include innovation, cost leadership, market penetration, economies of scale, operational excellence. This is very similar to how companies such as Samsung, Toyota, and Amazon achieved global leadership. So let's briefly examine Canada's perspective for Huawei. The potential benefits are: there's more competition, lower prices, and faster deployment of telecommunications infrastructure. The potential risks are national security concerns, dependence on foreign technology. The challenge for policymakers is balancing economic efficiency against potential security threats. So the question for you is, if there is no proven wrongdoing, should a company be excluded from a market? So this is perhaps the most controversial issue. Here are the arguments supporting restrictions on Huawei: national security risks, precautionary principle, and protection of critical infrastructure. The arguments against restrictions: there's lack of publicly disclosed evidence, potential of discrimination against a foreign company, reduced competition. The broader issue is whether governments should act based on risk assessment or only on proven evidence. So a question for you is, should governments wait for evidence of harm or act before harm occurs? Huawei CFO argued that protectionism ultimately hurts consumers. There is economic logic behind the statement. Here are the potential consumer costs: higher prices, fewer choices, reduced innovation. However, there are also potential benefits for these restrictions. There's greater security, stronger domestic industries, reduced strategic dependence. Therefore, the question becomes, what is the value of security and how much are consumers willing to pay for it? Here's another perspective. Generally, increased competition benefits consumers through lower prices and greater innovation. However, when products involve critical infrastructure, governments may accept higher costs to reduce national security risks. Therefore, protectionism may hurt consumers economically in the short term, but policymakers may view these costs as justified if they reduce strategic risks. So different stakeholders view Huawei differently. For consumers, they want lower prices and better service. For governments, they prioritize national security. For telecom operators, the focus is on cost and performance. For competitors, there's benefit from Huawei's restrictions. For investors, there's care about growth and regulatory risk. So remember that good business decisions require understanding multiple stakeholder perspectives. Here are additional questions to keep in mind. Should national security override free market principles? What evidence should governments require before imposing restrictions? How can countries reduce dependence on foreign technology? Can globalization survive increasing geopolitical tensions? So here are 4 major things to learn from the Huawei case. Lesson 1. Competitive advantage comes from innovation, scale, and execution. Lesson 2. International business decisions increasingly involve political considerations. Lesson 3. Governments must balance economic efficiency with national security. And lesson 4. There is rarely a perfect answer. Most policy decisions involve trade-offs. The Huawei case demonstrates that modern international business is no longer just about products and profits. It is also about technology, national security, geopolitics, and the future of globalization itself. And so now we've come to the end of this mini lecture. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have found this useful. Please be sure to reach out to me if you have any questions. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye for now.